Obviously, Oldham's going to be savagely hit by the cuts. So, what coping strategies do you suggest for people of Oldham subject to those cuts?
Actually, do you want to start now? You're in power.
Yeah, Oldham, like other local authorities, is going to be hit by cuts. That's undeniable. But if we didn't deal with the deficit and control public spending, we'd be in a worse situation. Oldham Council, what I would suggest and what I'm campaigning for is do the best to protect frontline services, should look for efficiency savings, should look at corporate procurement and see what savings they could deliver on that front. And everyone here will feel the frustration I felt on many fronts with waste at Oldham Council. And we can give lots of examples. I know here in Venture there's been issues about, taking the roads and making them all only for United Utilities to say they were going to do it anyway. We know how much Oldham Council spends on advertising its services and media stuff, which is unnecessary, and marketing stuff. We know rebranding exercises. We had a good quarter one, plus we replaced by 2 rings, living cost £100,000 and so on and so on. So yes, it's hard times, some services will be affected, that's undeniable, but I think there's very little choice on that front. And what's really important is Oldham Council looks at creative ways to tighten its belt, deliver good services, avoid frontline services being cut, and do its best to get out that waste and inefficiency.
Thanks, Kashif. I'm not so sure about cutting our advertising. That's me out of a job. That's what we're saying we've got.
One thing that the Labour Party minister himself put his probably the last act of the Labour government, he said, we're bust. There's no money left. And that's the answer to 13 years of Labour incompetence and mismanagement of the economy. When I started my campaign here now, a month or so ago, we were paying per day £120 million debt interest alone. So that's not paying off the debt, that's just servicing the debt. 1 month later, that's gone up to £150 million. Now, you can continue on in a fantasy world of economics where you just continue to borrow more and more and more. And what you'll have there is a situation like we had in the 1970s, where eventually the government goes bust. We call in the IMF, and effectively you'll have even more drastic cuts in public services. So for the Labour Party to criticise other people when they sort out their mess, I think is frankly quite wrong. If you look at our levels of debt, when the IMF called in 1976, and this is one of my earliest political memories, our debt level stood at roughly 45% of the gross national product of the country. It's now standing at 68% of the country. Unless this government took the necessary steps, we'd be bankrupt, we'd have no money in the country, would be far worse. Now, are they going to be tough? Yes. Are they going to be difficult? Yes. But unless you're prepared to an alternative, there's no credibility. The last Labour government said that they would do 44 billion of cuts. They've not said 1 penny of how that would be active stuff. So it's very easy to criticise, but unless you've got an alternative, frankly, you have no credibility.
And we just before you move that on across Debbie, obviously, that there has been some criticism of the early election in January 13th rather than February, feeling that the Lib-dem local council was going to have to announce their cuts before you were standing.
No.
You don't feel that that's...
Well, that's the way. All the proposals, let's say, to the local council have been there for a month. So people have been able to look at them for the last month, been able to debate them. What we've seen locally in the council is nationally that the local Labour group has not put one suggestion, one alternative through to the council as what they would do differently. All they're prepared to do is say it's wrong without an alternative.
Answer that.
Okay, well, my pleasure. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be doing what this coalition government is doing. As I said in my introductory remarks, the introduction of VAT is not only hitting the hardest, hitting the poorest hard, those that can least afford to pay. It's also threatening businesses. And I met local manufacturers just this. We know from, again, independent analysis from accountants such as Chronicle that it's anticipated that over 100,000 jobs will be lost by 2014 with the measures that this government is introducing. So apart from being unfair, it's not going to sustain the recovery. We've already seen the growth in the recovery slipping. It's actually shrinking, whereas it was increasing at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year when we were in charge. Yes, we've got a deficit. We know we've got a deficit, and we have been quite clear, both in the general election and recently, in terms of we need to reduce the deficit. And we've promised and we're still committed to reducing the deficit in 4 years if we were in charge. But it needs to be fair. It doesn't need to be cutting services that, for example, are going to be denying older people the care that they need. 600 jobs from the care service are anticipated to go. We know that, for example, although there was commitment around the NHS that this is going to be protected, anybody that works in the health service will know that frontline services are being cut. I met an A&E nurse who said that she didn't know if she had a job. This is absolutely outrageous, so I will make sure I protect our services. It's too far, too fast.
Could I come back on an important point? You oppose the VAT increase, but if that didn't take place, you'd have a 13 billion hole, and that would be even more cuts to services in councils like Oldham. How do you get around it? I mean, do you want another 13 billion of public spending cuts?
If I could just, well, I'll come back on that. In terms of, after the Second World War, the level of debt for this country was at the highest it's ever been. And we haven't invested in our country in the way that we did. We wouldn't have the welfare state, we wouldn't have the NHS. We actually improved. If you look at all the measures around economic growth, and when we see recession, the way to get at it, and this is me again, not me saying this, is the Nobel Prize winning laureate who said the best way to get out of a recession has to be to invest in your country. And that's what we did. We saw growth, and now we're seeing it shrink.
Okay, we'll move forward. That was a fairly comprehensive answer, so I think we'll move on with other issues. Could I ask Roy Melvin to make himself available? Hold on, sorry, I'm not questioning the people on the front row. That's purely a fluke. I can honestly tell you. I didn't know. But it's making Steve walk a long way. It's your question regarding the conflicts. Is that the one?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there was a conflict between what is best for our constituency, Oldham East and Saddle, and what your party believes in on a vote at Westminster, what would you do?
No, you go straight back into that. I think we'll bring you forward and change this one around.
Well, again, I mentioned Ryan in my opening remarks. I would stick by my principles, and I have a track record of sticking by my principles. And my job, I'm lucky enough to be elected as the MP for Newton would be to represent you, your issues, your needs, not Westminster's. And I'm absolutely committed to all of my pledges in my guarantee. So if it was a question of Oldham Brothers or Westminster, it will always be
Can you say the same?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a priority. And I mean, this is what I want to spell out. I mean, I'm a local guy. I'm from the seat, and I got involved in this seat because I wanted to serve the people of this seat. And that's why they come first. And I give you that solemn promise, more than politics. I'm not a great politician either. I want to do local service and serve local people. So no, local constituents always come first. I remember opposing the Iraq War without second thought. Not only because I felt I was GO people, but as a lawyer who's got a background in international law, I always took a conscious view that the war was unlawful, so I was on the march, and I didn't follow politics and the party line. So that's one example, but not very clearly, constituents come first.
Going through now,
Well, of course, everyone's going to say this, but the proof of the pudding is the fact that I did stand up for what was right. I did stand up to the lies of the distortions that were put at the last election. I stood for what was right, and I risked everything in doing that. The only other thing I'd say is that as part of government, I would not be looking to disagree with my party, I'd be looking to change the policy. And I think having established my reputation over the last 6-7 months as being one of the most outspoken persons in the Liberal press, I've been looking to change government policy so that they understood we frankly need far more northern voices. We certainly need far more manufacturing voices down in London, and that's what we're fighting for.
Can I ask then in terms of how you square the circle when you said that you would actually abolish tuition fees? You sort of said, you could say it was morally wrong, and now you say that you will actually support the government in the trembling of tuition fees. How do you square that circle?
Well, my position is not changed since April. I only got to university. My mother was on earning £8,000, 5 children. We all got to university. And now we're all paying my position has not changed. I believe that tuition fees are wrong. I would fight for tuition fees to be abolished if I was in Parliament. Let me finish this patient argument. But we are facing a situation where we have a coalition agreement that's been agreed by the National Parliament, and for the sake of the country, I'm working with the Conservatives to solve that.
I'll just